Hello everybody and welcome back to the Bayonetta 2 walkthrough. It is time for the final part of the third climax section of the extras. So this is basically just going to cover chapter 13 through 16. As you would probably expect considering where we ended the last part and where we have to end this one. Now I have to say, Bayonetta's kind of original outfit in Bayonetta 2 is absolutely stunning. I think it's mostly because sort of the brighter colours just really look cool. I have to say using Love is Blue doesn't quite work so well in the colour scheme, but in general kind of they are the better guns. But also what's quite fun in putting Bayonetta in this costume for this particular chapter is that you do actually begin to see the similarities between Rosa's outfit and Bayonetta's. So you sort of see where Bayonetta got her inspiration from, essentially. Which I just think is really, really, really cool. I will, however, say that they slightly changed Bayonetta's face from the first game to this one, and it is at its most apparent when wearing this particular outfit. Because I think just it's ever so slightly softer. And I don't know, that it's a bit softer, a little bit more expressive. It's not something that you generally notice when she's got the other kind of outfit on. But it is particularly noticeable here, and I think also the fact that there is so much added colour really does just emphasise it. Now, it's at this particular moment in time that I started to desperately try and get the torture attack on Angel's thing. Also, we finally got Ice Queen for freezing 40 different types of non-ice elemental enemies. And as I said before, that is basically everything that isn't Gravitas. So if you basically played the game straight through after getting Undine, then you should be able to get it, just freeze everything. And also you got to see some of the rather wonderful torture attacks that you do alongside Rosa. It is just really, really badass that they kind of had that whole dual torture attack. Particularly because obviously it means that mother and daughter get to work together in more than just the cutscenes in pulling off their dual climax attacks. Now I believe that we are going to be skipping over quite a lot of this verse, and I am indeed correct. Verse chapter. Basically at this point all you need to see are the climaxes and the final boss, and I suppose a little Easter egg that's included. Now, something that I found out just through going through all of the extras and all that kind of recording process is that there's actually an enemy angel that you never actually fight, and it's called Resplendence, which I believe might have just been that angel there. It sort of, unlike Worship, which you actually physically fight, Resplendence is one of the massive airship angels, but you never actually face it down, which absolutely confused me when it turned up, and I was just like, I have never seen this thing before in my life, but I actually have. It's just that I always thought that it was worship. Anyway, for some bizarre reason I decided, let's put Bayonetta in the nun outfit for this particular chapter. Guess it was kind of one of the only outfits left that was unique that I hadn't put her in yet. And I believe... Okay, never mind. I was about to say, I thought that was going to get me the bewitchment, but no. Also, I have to say that oh, there it is. Cruel witchcraft for killing 20 angels with torture attacks. There's a lot of kind of very similar bewitchments going from Bayonetta 1 into Bayonetta 2. It's just that I would say that it's so much more difficult to get everything in Bayonetta 1, because some of those bewitchments were evil. Because it involved things like blocking 10 times in a row with the Moon of Mahakala, and also kind of completing Infinite Climax, which obviously was a massive challenge, and considering Bayonetta 1 is definitely harder than Bayonetta 2, that just gets ridiculous when you think of kind of trying to beat that game on Infinite Climax. Just, oh my god. I remember trying to tackle hard, and it was just like, they're throwing Grace and Glories at me in the prologue. Oh my god. This is going to give me an aneurysm. So I've never actually braved it. Whereas this game, I felt I could brave it. Partly because I wanted to try and 100% it as a sort of matter of pride, I suppose. But still.
Who are you? Never mind that. Something more important to talk about.
Now, I will also use this time to... It's a bit of an odd time to reveal it, but I am officially not returning to complete Witch Trial 5. It's the only element of Bayonetta 2 that I am going to say now that I'm not going to finish, and considering, you know, it doesn't get me anything, it's fine in my book, because it doesn't do anything other than bragging rights, and considering the amount of time I spent on this blooming game for this this walkthrough, I think I've done my job mostly. Especially considering, I mean, I showed you how to beat the thing, and I'm going to teach you another little technique that you can apparently use, but just my patience reached its end. I love this game to pieces, but even I have to take a break after a while. Now, once again, I really don't know what it is, but Lobter is just so much easier than Prophet. I think it... I'm pretty sure that I was going on this exact same sort of semi-rant when I fought him the first time. But he's just so much easier to read. And it's even better when you just get to use Love is Blue. And to be perfectly honest, the game feels very, very fun when you're just using the guns. It's mostly because sort of you're in this really cool dodging, shooting thing. It can be a little cheap because it's just kind of chipping away slowly but surely, but there can be something particularly thrilling about it. And I guess the fact that Lobter is very fun to fight with the guns just makes it all the better. Because, as I mean, may have said before may have been in Bayonetta 1, but in general, like, the original guns are like my favourite weapons in both games. I think part of it is because there's the sort of slightly geeky musical reference, even though I don't actually really know Love is Blue. Like, I mean, most people know Scarborough Fair because it's the old kind of Simon and Garfunkel song. And even though I would not even be... Oh. Would be, are you going to Scarborough Fair? That's probably about as much as I could do of the actual tune. But obviously, you know, the whole rosemary, sage, thyme and parsley. So, know all of that. But then, like, Love is Blue, just no idea. I've listened to the song, but it's not memorable to me at all. But either way, they are kind of my favourite weapons to use. There's just something classic about it. Also, did rather choose not a great outfit for this particular scene, I feel. There's just something slightly ridiculous about Bayonetta dressed as a nun. It's probably because I remember the prologue of Bayonetta 1, which was just completely balmy, and removed quite a lot of the innocence that I had at that point. Because when Bayonetta 1 came out, I was about 15, I think. Yeah, 15, 16. And sort of it was kind of the first ever, well, first ever 18 rated game that I'd ever kind of actually wanted. Because, well, I mean, this makes me look like a very sheltered young man, but my taste in games has never strayed towards the overly bloody, shooty bang bang, first-person shooter type thing. So, like, 18 rating games have never really held my interest. I've always been much more of a fan of colour and excitement. So, the ridiculousness of Bayonetta was a rather odd little thing for me, because I wasn't expecting it, and the fact that I then just got it and loved it was just amazing. Slightly frustrated because the game was a 15 when it came out. Oh god, who was it? It was the BBFC rated it at that point and it got a 15, whereas I think under Peggy it's definitely an 18. But as you can see, this really ridiculously wonderful Easter egg. So if you are wearing the Star Mercenary costume during Chapter 16, then you get to do the Jet Fighter Assault in an R-Wing. Sound effects are identical. The reticule is identical. And just, oh, it's wonderful. I think there are quite a few people who say that it is easier to play this particular, well, this entire section with the R-Wing. And I think in a way they are correct, because, I mean, the bomb is a very, very, very effective tool. And in general, the reticule helps you aim a lot better. Having said that, it is not the most helpful thing if you want to get the bewitchment that is associated with this entire section. However, I will be showing off how to get that bewitchment. It's a very proud moment it was when I was recording that, because it took me more than a few tries. I mean, I do believe that, I mean, it is possible to get it whilst fighting on the R-Wing. But it involves a lot of work with the Bracelet of Time, which is an accessory which I believe we have definitely unlocked by this point. And I believe I did mention it right at the start of this third Climax run. Because basically what it does is it allows you to enter Witch Time whenever you want by pressing the L button, but you can't access Witch Time normally. So what you've got to do is enter Witch Time at a point where you can then shoot down all of your enemies before they disappear off the screen. Obviously this is much easier to do on easy mode, and as such that is where I will be completing it. But I feel I should point it out now in case you want to attempt it on any of the verses. The reason that you kind of may want to just beat this on kind of just with the normal ship is the demon section here, because Boulder's slashes are very useful at defeating the demons very quickly. Also, I feel I have to say this. Do a barrel roll. Which it... oh... I love that they did this. It's like, it's not quite as big an event as the Space Harrier homage, because, I mean, that was an entire kind of 2 levels kind of ripped straight from Space Harrier with the Space Harrier music. So that's kind of quite an awesome thing. Whereas this is just kind of fighting in an R-Wing, so it's kind of... everything's a little bit inversed. So everything else is new, but the R-Wing and everything associated with it is the same, whereas in the first game, everything but the thing you were riding on was the reference. Would have liked it if they managed to get a Star Fox theme into this, but Nintendo, I believe, are a little bit stingy on the music side. Because I seem to recall that for the Wonderful 101, they really wanted to use the Punch-Out music for the boss of Chapter... well, Operation 005, which was Gaguji... no. Walgaguji, I think. And they really wanted to use it for that, but Nintendo didn't let them. And obviously, there's the potential that they may have asked Nintendo for Star Fox music to use and didn't let them use that, but I don't think they've said anything about it. Which is a shame, because sort of I liked those musical homages, and well, I mean, there is one musical homage which you get for beating Third Climax, but that is the only one of its type. Apart from, I guess, the Zelda puzzle jingle. So, I don't know, maybe they just didn't ask or think to ask about using Star Fox music in this game. But it is frustrating that they didn't get the Punch-Out music for the Wonderful 101. Also! Oh my god. There were other R-Wings. Which is just like... ah! Now, I probably should have cut that out and made a nice, smooth transition. But, oh well, I didn't really feel like beating the game in the Star Mercenary outfit, so I decided to, you know, switch to Dress B so that we could finish with the Let's Dance Boys in the outfit that Bayonetta is wearing at that point in the game. Also because it looks completely and utterly ridiculous during this entire thing.
I suppose not even a god can see him coming.
Gods do not concern themselves with the machinations of insects. Now, Umbra Witch. The left eye of darkness must return from whence it came.
Then just try to take it back. You've destroyed more than you know.
Now, as I believe I said at some point during this third climax sequence, is that what's rather frustrating with some of the outfits is that they really do not work well in cutscenes. The dress A and B, as you can see here, is a particularly prime example of outfits that are not intended to work effectively in cutscenes. And I believe you'll get to see a wonderful segment of that in the cutscene that's happening now. Like, it'll work later on, but here it's just going to get in the way and make the whole thing incredibly ridiculous. And I mean, more ridiculous than it already is, as you can see here, because Bayonetta's hat covers Aesir's face. Well, Lopter/Prophet's face, and then his hand slips through the hat, and it's all a little bit clumsy. I know why it happens, but it's just... like, I can't take you seriously when I can't even see you. But either way, it is time for our final part of third climax. All we've got left to do is defeat Aesir.
Human free will is a joke. It is a worthless illusion. You need only obey me. My will shall become that of the universe.
I don't think I quite mentioned, well, maybe mentioned a slight little bit of it in when we first fought him, but ever so slightly concerned about that whole crotch area, because, you know, when he's like this, he's got kind of the diamond thing covering it, but you can see, I mean, there's not exactly anything there, because he's a god, so he doesn't need a gender or whatever, or sex or whatever, but obviously when he kind of reverts back, he's got sort of just a very, very small amount of clothing, and it's... yeah. It's similar to the glowing crotch incident from Bayonetta 1, which was incredibly prevalent. Because you had it with Joy, which is an angel that I do miss. I wish we had seen Joy again, because she was wonderful to fight. And also it would have been really nice to have an equivalent to like Jeanne. Or like an angel equivalent to the Masked Lumen. Because that was the cool thing about Joy, it was sort of a normal enemy that was a kind of mirror. And you also had Jeanne midway through the final fight between her and Bayonetta, which was just... that was a frankly bizarre moment. But... yeah, Platinum Games just like making people feel uncomfortable. There might just be a Hideki Kamiya thing in general, because obviously you have Sakuya in Okami, who has got very, very prominent cleavage area, and also very prominent butt area. And there is concept art of... they were planning on having her have less and less clothes as time went on. And you also had Rao, who Isun really, really, really likes the boobs on. I will say, Hideki Kamiya is a little bit of a pervert. And So I suppose that kind of creates a little bit of complication with Bayonetta's character design and all, but what I think that Bayonetta does very effectively is it walks a wonderfully tight line between being both offensive and not offensive, ridiculous, like really not taking itself seriously and taking itself a bit seriously, and being incredibly sexual but not really being sexy at all. And I guess it sort of also walks that line of being slightly misogynistic but also being incredibly empowering for women. So it's sort of lots of kind of paradoxes and contradictions. And I like how I've returned to this subject. I think it was just because I was reading an article the other day, or maybe earlier today. I can't remember anymore. This is what happens when the mind crumbles. You just lose track of everything and get a little bit crazy. Also, something I realised in editing, I didn't actually complete the QuickTime event for Gamora biting down on Aesir in the Act 1 main run, which was an incredibly embarrassing thing that I didn't spot. And I mean, I think when I was doing the commentary I thought, did that actually happen? And it was in editing the commentary that was just like, oh it did. Oh it did. My assumption when I did it the first time was that I was accidentally pressing A and thinking, oh, it's going fine because he's still biting. And it's Y. Maybe that was it. I don't know, but it incredibly embarrassing experience. You've probably been wondering why I've not addressed it for the past, like, 10 parts. It's mostly because sort of just leave it until that happens again. And then I can redeem myself somewhat by saying, I did realise that happened. But, yeah. I would also point out that, sort of, in my runs of Third Climax, and also when I do First Climax and even Infinite Climax, I just got incredibly lazy. It was just like, I don't want to play particularly carefully, I just want to complete this. Now, for completing Third Climax, we unlock Infinite Climax, which is the hardest difficulty. We also unlock the ability to play as Rosa. We also get Super Mirror 64. And I believe, last but not least, we get Angelic Hymn's Gold LP, Super Mario 64, which is the piece of music that I was telling you about.
Where'd you get your hands on that? All different kinds of golden LPs, you know. But that one you got right there, it's a very special one. My hands are shaking just looking at it.
We'll just take the damn thing and get us our weapon, please.
Don't know if I'll be able to keep him under control. Don't make me beg you, Bayonetta. Hurry up and hand it over.
And so, with this, which is just wonderful little thing, we actually get the Chain Chomp as a weapon.
This one right here. This one
It's
right
very powerful, and as I believe I may have said in the last part,
know what to do.
it does some really nifty things. But also, what's really cool is that it explodes, and Platinum were a little bit freaked that Nintendo weren't going to be happy about one of their characters exploding, but they were perfectly fine with it. They didn't bat an eyelid. But either way, that's Third Climax done. It's time to move on to First Climax and Jeanne.